We are 2 weeks away from Chicago's mayoral runoff, and there's a big debate tonight. It's between Cook County Commissioner and Chicago Teachers Union organizer Brandon Johnson versus a former Chicago Public Schools CEO Paul Vallas. In the primary last month, no candidate received 50% of the vote. That was actually the election last month. Current Mayor Lori Lightfoot ended up in third out of a crowded field of 8 other candidates. So joining us now, investigative reporter and anchor Ben Bradley, one of my favorites, I must admit, with our affiliate here in Chicago. Ben, great to have you here. 2 Democrats here, both with an education background, but 2 very different career paths. So how is that playing out in this runoff?
It's interesting. It's like the ultimate labor management standoff. You have Paul Vallas, who is a former Chicago Public Schools CEO. He's also run school systems in other parts of the country, against Brandon Johnson, a former teacher who is now an organizer for the Chicago Teachers Union. So while education is a big issue in this race, you also have crime and public safety. Brandon Johnson has stood on a podium with a defund the police sign behind him. He now tries to distance himself and saying, oh, well, it's just a political philosophy, not necessarily mine. And you have Paul Vallas, endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. Crime, as you know, Nichole, big issue here, and a big issue on the minds of voters. But it's interesting. We only expect about 30% of registered voters to show up in Chicago for this runoff in 2 weeks. And who shows up in low turnout elections? Those with a vested interest in the system. Chicago Teachers Union is going to turn out a lot of people.
They certainly will. 30% only. All right, so let's talk more about crime, because that's an issue so many cities here in America are dealing with. So will the winner essentially be whoever can make people feel the safest?
You know, it's a big issue for both of them, even though they have very different positions. Brandon Johnson talks about the need to reopen mental health clinics that were closed down throughout the city of Chicago, the need for police to respond to policing issues, but not necessarily mental health issues. Brandon Johnson says we need more detectives to actually solve cases, which will make Chicago feel safer. But Paul Vallas, who actually helped the police union negotiate the last contract with the city, says, hey, we are down nearly 2,000 officers. We're not staffing beats in the city. So that's what you need to do here in the city. But education is going to be another big issue here. Chicago Public Schools lost 10% of their student population in the last 3 years. And so there's a big question about how you get people to believe in the city's schools again.
Yeah, it's certainly difficult there. Last question for you, Ben. 9 candidates in February's election. It is a nonpartisan election, but all, had previously identified as Democrats, including, of course, the now outgoing Mayor Lori Lightfoot. So where are the votes from those 7 other candidates going to go? Where are they expected to go?
That's where the battle has been over the last couple of weeks. You have Chuy Garcia, former congressman, a progressive. You can say many of his supporters might go over to Brandon Johnson. They're on the same side of the political spectrum. Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who came in third, has not yet endorsed in this race. Not that endorsements carry a lot of weight anymore, right? Just because someone tells you how to vote, Nichole, doesn't mean you're going to go out and do it. You're going to nod your head and smile.
I do what I want to do, Ben.
Exactly. What is interesting, though, and you and I have talked about this in the past, and that is Chicago used to be a city of tribal politics. We're a third black, third Hispanic, third white. And there used to be, you kind of voted along with your racial or ethnic identity. We didn't see that a couple of weeks ago. Paul Vallas was the biggest vote getter by far. The only white guy in the race, and so it'll be interesting to see how the vote actually breaks down.
Well, we will have you back to break everything down for us, Ben. Always great to have you here with us. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.